Hi, everyone. Okay, so now you know what has been keeping me busy for the past like 3.5 months. This project has become a very near and dear and precious baby to me. And I thought it'd be fun to first share the whole how it came to be. I'm also laughing. My mat has gotten so junked up since I first got it. It's not all nice and brand new anymore. But so basically, this all started from Wolfgang reached out to me beginning of, oh gosh, I want to say probably May, and was looking into possibly getting terrain made up for when they do booths at different conventions. And he knows that I go to a lot of conventions, and I'm also a DM on their Twitch channel for Kobold Press. So it became one of those things where he and I started chatting. Now, of course, he reached out to me literally, oh no, this was actually right before I was leaving for the castle when he reached out to me. So I told him that at this time, you're going to hear the dragon going. It is freaking cold. We have a snowstorm. So if you hear the grumbling, it's my dragon keeping the house warm. So I told him that as soon as the summer got a little less chaotic, because I had the castle and I had Gen Con, that I'd love to sit down and chat with him to talk about more of what he wants in terms of terrain. So we sat down, had a great conversation, and I thoroughly enjoyed speaking with him because it was one of those things where he told me what he was looking for their booth, because it's one of those things where the terrain is going to work with their one-shots that they're going to be running at the booth. And so it's a conversation of back and forth and just spinning ideas off each other and then sharing emails and everything like that. And it boiled down to playability, color, which, hi, as well as interesting and different. Very easily he could have gone with some other ones with companies that are already out there, but he decided to approach me about it and get something a little bit more custom made for their needs, which is why I was thrilled to say yes to it. Yes, I have a dragon for my house heater, and I did make terrain for the whole castle thing for my BB's place. That was another thing that kept me busy. So what I thought would be fun to do is, you've just seen the big reveal video. There is going to be a independent, you're catching me at the end of the evening and it's been a long day, so I'm going to be like, so there's going to be a video up tomorrow of just that video to act as sort of a little preview for everyone who might be coming to PAX Unplugged and after. But what I thought would be fun tonight is to show you these different pieces that you saw and just sort of go into more details about what I did with them, how I came across them, concept-wise, what inspired it, and everything like that. So the first thing I wanted to share with you all, because I don't know if I should or not, because when I tried to share these suckers with you, what was it, last Wednesday? The stream crashed. So keep your fingers crossed. I did, because I had to, I finished up those Dollar Tree farm animals that you can find in these packs. So of course, because it's white paper. So I did get around to doing that. And then where's my camera? My camera's also up like way higher. So I did get around to finishing that. This is different because I'm used to having the camera lower. Come here, darling. So it's one of those things where I did get to it. We do have a little bit of a focus issue happening because this is not set up for miniatures. It's actually set up for terrainscape mode. But they did get done. I just wanted to show you that, yes, the pigs crashed the stream. Yes, I did get the animals done. I did get a couple pictures of them, but it is worth buying those Dollar Tree animals and just zhuzhing them up a little bit by putting on some primer and just repainting them, and honestly, like, touching up the spurs and scratching off the made in China and all of that, and you do get some really good results from it. I was quite pleased with how it all came out. Let me just pop the camera up again. Like I said, it's one of those weird things because this is more wide scope for terrain. So you have seen some of this already because I did some of this work on the streams. And what I thought I'd show you is, you saw these getting made. These are the cobblestone mats. The other thing is that everything needs to be sort of super collapsible. Let me just fix. I'm not liking how bright. I want to dim the brightness a little bit here on my camera. So one of the things is everything needs to be collapsible, rightfully so, because they're going to be taking this to a bunch of different places. And because of that, and after having been to England trying, oh, that's much better. To England trying to take my own terrain, I learned a lot about what doesn't help and what does in terms of transporting terrain, distances, and having to deal with planes and everything like that. So, okay, that's a little, hello. So, when it came to the base of the city, everyone just defaults to cobblestone. It's just where our minds go, cobblestone streets, cobblestone, cobblestone, cobblestone. So instead of making a whole bunch of different tiles, tiles, this type of a thing, I thought it perhaps would be better to do mats. And this is something I did with BB's Place too for maps. But in this case, I had found that textured wallpaper, when painted up, really does look like a very convincing cobblestone. And this is just mounted onto canvas board. Not stretched canvas, but canvas board, for those of you who were not with me for that other stream. So I painted this up. I gave it the whole cobblestone effect. There is a stream on this if you want to see how this is done. And you saw me get this pulled together and painted, but I have added another detail. This was sort of after the fact when I started putting things together. What I did is I took the shelf liner that you can find at any like Walmart, Target, Amazon type of thing. I took shelf liner and I mounted it to the back of these, because what this now does is it keeps these stable and stationary, which is super helpful, because a lot of what I discovered, again, this is just from traveling and having to take my own terrain far, far away. It's a pain in the butt when things start shifting around on you. And I had done these canvas boards before, but I found that the boards themselves, every so often, like if a player reached to touch a mini or something like that, one of them would shift and then we'd have like this skewed issue. But because of the shelf liner, once you get it put on there, it actually, I'm shaking my own camera. Once you get it put on the table, they actually stay in place. In fact, the motion is happening because of my mat underneath. It doesn't have that. But that was an additional little feature that I put onto this. And I'm really glad I did. And it's something where if you want to have the ability to sort of get a nice flat ground of a particular look down, whether it's forest, whether it's city, whether it's caverns, whether it's dungeons, this approach I find is super helpful. It's sort of like massive tiles, but they're thin, they're bigger, but they're still compact. So they don't take up as much room as, say, a mat would, because a lot of times those big mats that you can buy, they have to be folded a certain way or rolled a certain way, and that can actually add some heft and bulk to your luggage. So this is my compromise in terms of the base. All right, this is what I started with. I wanted to get the feel of a city cobblestone down, because I knew once this gets on the table, whatever goes on top of it is going to start nodding towards what we're looking at. So that was the first thing, and that's something I did with you all on a stream. Well, some of you, not you all. The next thing I started working on, concept-wise in my head, and again, the one thing Wolfgang did stress was that he didn't want, oh, I should not open this up right next to the microphone because this is Velcro. I also saved a lot of boxes. So the next thing I started working on were walls. Now, the one thing he did stress, and the one thing I completely agree with, is that we wandered, I'm reading the chat at the same time. He wanted to keep it to, you still get the effect of everything without it overtaking the table, because if you've ever been to a convention, or if you've ever seen a game played where there are people observing, you get about 2 people deep and all of a sudden you can't see the table anymore. And I've experienced this personally watching gameplay with massive terrain pieces. And yes, it looks cool as anything when you are a player sitting at the table, but when you're one of the visitors, so to speak, or observers, you start to lose what's going on the table, because things like the wall of a certain house or the roof or things like that start taking over. So the name of the game for this terrain development was to keep it shallow, is the best way to describe it, so that the height wasn't too much, but that you still got the idea of what was going on. So the first thing I started mulling over were city walls. Now, of course, when we think city walls, we think, city walls, sizable walls that measure to what we would have as a standard. However, scaling it down, making it something where it's one of those things where you get the effect still, but it's not going to overtake everything. So this is what I came up with. These are, yes, because I'm nuts, these are individual foam bricks that I cut, that I textured, which actually, fish stone gravel is really good for texturing bricks. If you put them into a Ziploc bag with the gravel and then just kind of like stress ball smush it, I kid you not, That's how I did this, and I'm really liking it. So what I did is I developed these walls, and I did measurements of 3 inches and 6 inches to make it easier to sort of bump up against each other. Justin is asking, I wondered if linoleum fake tile would work. Some people have used that. It just depends on the type of look you want. I have really no desire to use linoleum because it can tend to smell sometimes. This is odorless. So this is a 3-inch city wall, and I also made it so that it's not your typical solid gray. This is something where you can tell in certain lighting. My lighting is a little bit on the blue side right now, but there are tones of purples and reds and blues that are put underneath here, and then I did a layer of a very pale gray on top, which kind of gave it more of a bluish undertone as opposed to the standard gray or taupe that you'll get, you know, kind of like here. And you're actually going to see it better when we get to the city gate. And then I went through and I actually did put in some moss in some of the cracks because, you know, let's just add that extra touch. So they're basically getting a set of these city walls. I'm going to lay them out like this so you can kind of see and get the feel of it. So these are the 3-inch lengths. This is the cat litter, no, because of the dust. I will tell you that right now. I wouldn't do cat litter because of the dust. That's a huge issue. It is going to muck up your paint, and it's going to start making things go wonky on you. So this is the 3-inch. This is the 6-inch length, and as you can see, there is, again, more moss. Put it on all sides. The end caps, end pieces rather, I didn't really put moss in there just because I want them to be able to butt up against each other. And then I also did just separate little columns, which again, some of them have some moss on them, all finished the same way. It's capped with craft foam. I think it's EVA is the lettering for that one. And that is one of those things where, I'm trying to keep the profile a little bit more shallow, which is why I didn't go right to the foam itself, because these are a little bit thicker pieces of brick. I wanted that slab to be a little bit thinner, so I went for the craft foam. And basically, it's one of those things you can line these all up together, and it starts turning into your walls. Now, of course, because I'm lying these on the ground, slightly different, but that gives you the sense of how this would work. It also means that if there's an impromptu, they're going into, say, a cemetery or a courtyard, you can quickly just get things set up. And these do all have screws in the bottom just to help weigh things down. So you can quickly just get sort of a quick little courtyard going, what have you. And then, you know, ta-da. That could be like a graveyard or something. So I'm trying to give them the means of recreating or quick creating scenes if needed, because we all know, especially DMs out there, players are very good about you start off on one path and zoom, you end up in a completely different place. Hello, The Last Air. I'm not even kidding. I was looking at my notes from before I even started the game, and we have session 16 happening in a couple weeks. We're in a completely different place of the forest I was never planning on going to. So on and so forth. So I want to make sure that the DMs at the booth for Kobold Press have the ability to quick create a setting if they need to on the table that doesn't go in line with what might be planned. Because you can plan, but then something always kind of gets a little bit zhuzhed, which honestly I quite frankly tend to love as a DM now. So that is what I call the old city wall, just to kind of give it the older, been there for longer type of feel of things. So that is one of the walls. Now, the other wall, and this is all I did, I just put Velcro at the bottom here, and I love these little flap tabs. This is for travel purposes. This is so that everything stays in more tightly. There is like bubble wrap and stuff I put on the top of these boxes before shipping it along. But, oh, Thor, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Pyro kitty. Okay, Thor. Yeah, I love that. And that PC is just one of my favorite. And thank you so much, everyone in the chat. You're saying some really sweet things, and I very much appreciate it. There's always that one player. There's only supposed to be one. Honestly, I love my players. They're great. So the second set of walls that they're getting, you did see me start up on stream. This Velcro isn't fooling around, I'm telling you. So the second one is as I'm moving things apart, is the brick wall. So you did see me pull this together. There is a stream on how to create this. This I am absolutely loving because it really does give that city feel. And this is one of those things where, again, you can make it feel like someone's courtyard. Like set this up next to one of the houses, and I'll show you one of those in a little bit. But this was basically just the foam core cut into 1-inch strips and then notched every half-inch alternating, so that as you layer them together, you get brickwork. And the top is one more layer of that foam core. And so I did the brick red, and again, color is important for this build. So I went with a very bright, vivid red. It does have a brown wash on top of it just to tone it down a little bit. But when it's on the table, it pops nicely. So I'm quite happy with how these brick walls came out. So that is a 6-inch length. And again, did the 3-inch too. So there's a 3-inch. And then there are 2 options for the columns. So lighting was another feature that Wolfgang wanted incorporated. And I wanted to make sure it was a type of lighting that was quick and easy to change batteries, so on and so forth. So the first column that they're getting is this guy. And this is just, it's Black Magic Craft based off that concept, painted up as a red brick. Took some moss, put it into cracks and everything like that. And there are gears put on there, and I weighed it down with screws so they have a nice heft to them. So this is one of the columns that can be put to use. And again, you just sort of pop it up to the side, ta-da, there you go, and kind of use it as corner pieces if you want to, so on and so forth. Now, the second one is the light feature. So these are what I'm calling the street lamps, which again, if I get too close, it gets blurred out. So these are the street lamps. Let me try something here. If I turn off, here we go. Okay, so these are the street lamps. This is going to be good so you can actually see the lighting better. And it's getting very moody for my camera lighting too. And you can have it where there's no light, but wait, there's more. There are these really great little, they're called balloon lights, okay? And they are fantastic for adding in lights, non-committal at that you can put to use. So they come looking like this. They're like this little globe, and there's a pull tab. So it's going to be important to save the pull tabs, put them in a safe spot. There's a box right here. It'll make it much easier to do so. And so all you need to do is just pop out this pull tab. And you can get it in warm lighting, you can get it in cool lighting, you can get some that flash different colors. I went with a warm light. So all you have to do is just swing open the top of this, and there's a stream on how to make these too. And then you just pop in that little globe, and then, well, it helps to make sure the light itself is pointing up. And then you put it inside, and you get, I'll have to palm it a little bit, but you do get the glowing effect. There we go. But you now have glowing street lamps. So that is just a really quick and easy way to incorporate some lighting, and you're not having to worry about wires and everything like that. And you get like 100 for $6, something really cheap. I do have a link of an Amazon list of everything that I used for this build that you can put to use. So that is the 4th option that they're getting with the brick layout. So they can have the standard column with a gear on it, the brick walls in the 2 different lengths, and then we have our glowing street lamp column. And what's funny is as I'm driving around my area, I'm seeing a whole bunch of these style street lamps at like people's end of the driveway. So I'm like, oh, so that's where, it had been working in my head. I black magic. Well, no, it's not black magic. That's a different channel. So these are definitely going to become part of my crafting arsenal. I highly recommend you find them and get them, again, off of Amazon. And just save those tabs, and they pop right out. And all you have to do is insert tab back in, which is basically just going between 2 little watch batteries, and it turns off. And that's what I'm using for the lighting feature for these brick stone lamps, I guess we'll call this. So those are the 2 style of walls that I have put together for them. This is a stream. These are streams as well, for those of you interested, if you want to check that out. Yeah, you can make, that's the other thing. I was thinking I have to play with it. But they would be great for fire markers, which I did make. You want to see my fire markers? I had fun with those. I had a lot of fun with my fire markers, actually. Let me just quickie-do. Hold on. So they, how I found them, yes, they're called balloon lights. Again, there's a link in the description below to the Amazon list, which I recommend you check out, and that should take you where you need to go. So let me go and get my fire markers. and I'll show you what I did. Oops, let's pack that guy away. There is going to be a couple of well, more than a couple. There's going to be some off-screen stuff for me, simply because I have a small workspace and this is a lot of terrain. So I just went with the classic. Yes, you use the flickering Dollar Tree type of stuff, but oh my gosh, I had fun with color. Again, color was important. Yeah, these are great for something more compact than the classic tea lights. These were built with the classic tea lights. Look, see, these are my fires. And the reason why I wanted to do it like this is because I wanted it to be able to be functional, even if something like, say, the battery wears out or something goes awry where it just stops working. I wanted it to be something where it doesn't just look like a tuft of puff on the table. So I created these fire markers, fire flames. We'll do the same thing. We'll turn off my Uber overhead and you can get the idea. So now they have this great fire effect thing where they can put it around different parts of the table when someone, you know, does a fireball. It just forwards to the Amazon homepage. I'll have to take a look at that. That should, oh, you know what? Go to www.thecraftingmuse.com. There is a separate independent tab just for the Zobeck build stuff. Check that out. The website does have an independent tab. You have to go to the tab section and you'll find it there. It's the Zobeck materials, I believe. So these are mine. And like I said, I made sure that they were painted up, as you can see. So, because you're also on convention floors and sometimes lighting doesn't always translate as well as you would like to from a distance. And again, distance is coming into play because we want to pull people from wandering around to the booth. So that's why these guys are definitely a lot more colorful. And really all I had to do to create this was I took my Mod Podge Ultra and I found out that I can mix it with airbrush paint and tint it. And so I would tint my Mod Podge Ultra, which is the sprayable version of Mod Podge, different product, not Mod Podge in its classic paste form. And so I added some yellow to one and I sprayed it on with yellow. Then I graduated to adding in some red to that yellow to bring it up to an orange and then to bring it up to a more orangey red. And then finally I did a separate one for just plain old red at the top. And then I did black. So that's how I created these little fire markers. And I'm quite pleased with how, whoops, turn you off. That would be bad. Get it to convention. It's not working. Just to kind of give them a little bit more oomph. I think there's a link to the tiny lights. If there is not, I will make sure I get it up there within the hour after signing off. So those are the fire lights. There's more. Let's see. I'm going to get the half houses. I will be right back. I think I got them all. So, again, we're going back to the fact that Wolfgang wanted to make sure the profile on a lot of this is lower. So that, again, the table is not overtaken by the terrain itself, and then it makes it difficult for people sidelining it to see what's happening. The tribbles. Oh, God, that was funny. Yeah, burning tribbles. The trouble with tribbles, not anymore. Brambles took care of that. My Pyro Kitty. She's like my new PC and I love her. She's a Circle of Wildfire from Unearthed Arcana. Okay, so let's talk about these half-wall houses that I've developed. This again came from what Wolfgang and I were talking about when he placed his order. And there are all these fantastic houses and builds out there where it's truly miniature buildings and they are fantastic and they are gorgeous. However, it was more than what he was looking for. Again, we wanted to keep those low profile. So what I did was created sort of a Daub and Wattle style house exterior, but I kept it so that it's only 1 inch in height. All right. This is something I will be doing as a stream to show you the technique for putting this together. So then get the exterior wall set up, which means you're now dealing with an interior. Now for the interior, right now I have protective plastic on this. What I've done for the interior is I've created little interior maps. This takes out the extra work of bringing in furniture and the rugs, which I had done. I did that for BBs. And it's one of those things where it got tedious having to switch things out, and I wanted to make sure they had the ability to switch things quickly. So this is just a little shop. It's a generic shop. There's nothing set in stone about it. But it's also something where if they want to change what this is, I can easily make a new insert for them just to pop it in, and it'll change its function completely. So this can turn into someone's small little home instead if they so choose. So I just made a few different sizes, and I also wanted to make sure that we had nesting options, again, to make it more compact, easier. Traveling with these is another thing I kept in mind. So thank you, Thor. I invented popcorn. Oh, God, that's right. Good. You remembered that with Bramble. Oh, I love it. So I did a set in rectangular form and a set in square form. So everything nests together beautifully. So I have a little shop. And then this is... One moment, please. That's a scrap. This is basically, it's an inn. And this is what I was talking about with the layers. Oh, wait, no, this is the home. This is the home, not the inn. So this is the home. So it's just set up so you can come in through the door. I did make sure the doors were marked on the outside to make it easier for when you're playing, and you can tell. So there's a door, you walk in, there's a fireplace, there's a table for the kitchen type of thing, a cupboard, and you have bedrooms in the back. So I just had fun pulling everything together like this. So we have the shop, we have the home, shop nests into the home. Then we have, this is the tavern. So here's the tavern. Now here's the other cool thing about these houses. Because of the way you can set in inserts, it also means that each of these inserts can become a new level. So I have first level, second level. All right. So this is the tavern when you first walk in. Let me get it so it sort of makes sense here. So you come in through the door. Here's your bar. We have some tables around here. Here's where the barkeep or, tavern owner lives, sleeps. Back storage room, food prep area. And then the second floor. So we have stairs right here. And then the same stair icon. Now, all this was made with, and I did a video on it. Why am I blank? Hold on. This is Dungeon Painter Studio. So this is a great program you can get on Steam. I really like it. So then using Dungeon Painter Studio, I created these little maps. It's a 1-inch grid setup for you right away when you go to save in PDF. Love it, love it, love it. Makes life so much easier. And so basically this is just printed paper mounted onto cardstock, which is then mounted onto the EVA foam just to kind of make it nice and a little bit more hefty. And you can just quickly pop in, and now you have your second level. Or if it's something where, hold on, the party decides to split, guess what you can do? You can have it so that you have your second floor next to your first floor. Everyone can see what's going on with each of the floors, but it just makes it a lot less guesswork for the DM, and it's quicker this way too. So that was another feature I wanted to make sure. And again, if they wanted to change these out, they could. So as you can see, these all nest into each other. Again, I have just some protective layering in here, but that also meant that the ceilings are sort of null and void. But we did want to make sure that roofs were something that could be included, because pretty much, not even kidding, every single city game I've played in as a player, we have had rooftop encounters. Not even kidding. So that always gets me thinking. It's like, okay, well, if there's going to be a rooftop encounter, that means you want to make sure you have rooftops to play. So I did create rooftops. And it's basically one of those things where these can just nest, or rather rest. So all they have to do is just pop them on top and you're good to go. So I'll show you a couple of different ones, and then I'll show you the temple/church. Again, a lot of this is kept generic. So this is the one that goes right on top of the inn, or no, not the inn, the tavern. So it just pops right on top. And then people were calling this the Pizza Hut Tavern, which, looking back at old Pizza Hut things, yeah, I can see. Oh, wait, no, that's upside down for you. So you get this effect with this style roof. But basically, you get the idea of like, okay, this is a building. It has a roof. You actually can put minis on top of here, and they'll stay put. Did I? Oh, I did. I have a mini. So you can put a mini on the roof, and you can have it work and function as an encounter. That was another important thing. So this is the one for the tavern, which, again, color. This was a fun one to do. All of this stuff I am going to try and recreate as best I can through streams and stuff. If there's something you specifically truly want to see, please comment below, because those are what's going to guide me. So I had that roof, and then here we go. Let's take the home. And I did this kind of roof for the home. And I did leave it where some of them are just sort of an open, but once it's on the table, it works. And again, we're looking for portability, we're looking for keeping the profile low, and we're also looking for playability. So you can pop your mini on there and they stay put, because it's all about the slope. Thank you so much, HC Magic. Have a lovely evening. So yeah, this is what I did with the building factor to help out with keeping things a little bit more manageable and less overwhelming when it comes to bringing and setting up and everything like that. Because when I was bringing things in for BBs, I realized I put a lot of little details, literally as little details, and that got tiring to switch around. I didn't even use about 2/3 of what I brought with me, come to think of it. So this is really what kind of inspired the whole half house, is what I'm calling them. So you get your half houses, but you get the full effect because of these interior maps and because of the way they're set up, and you have less room to worry about because of the nesting factor. They're just nice and slim, and it's one of those things where I'm probably happiest with this little brainchild of mine. This is the jail. You're going to jail. And this is the inn. I keep saying the inn. This is the inn. This is like the true inn. So, I am only doing on one side of the inserts simply because you get this double warping effect because everything is sealed up with Mod Podge for durability. Also, again, if you have it in the same building, it's a matter of being able to put this side-to-side factor, which is why I didn't do back-to-back. There were a couple little twerky issues with it. Tweaky issues, that's what I want. Let me go get the church now. The church temple setup is a different story. You go... Yeah. Oops. Now, by default, these temples are bigger. So it's one of those things I couldn't do a half wall setup like I did with the houses and the tavern and everything like that. Not in its sense of what I had going where it was one unit. So what I did was I created the floor plan for the temple or church. It's very generic, so they can kind of make it what they need it to be in this situation. And then it's the same concept. I use the Dungeon Painter Studio. And again, it's mounted onto cardstock, and then I put the foam on the back just to really help kind of keep the two pieces together. But you have to space it a certain way so you can still fold it. That was something I learned from doing a lot of the work with BB's Place. So here is the basic floor plan. Do I need to boost this up a little bit more? I do. So here's the floor plan, all right? But then we get into the walls themselves. It's actually, they offer a bunch of different styles in this program, which is why I like using it. It harkens very much towards Dungeons and Dragons like it's supposed to. So what I did for the church instead was I created these walls. Very similar to the old wall brickwork, except I painted a different color. I did just some vine work stuff. Actually, a little hint, if you let your hot glue trail and stick on the sides, you can turn it into vines afterwards. Just a fun little tip for you. So I did that, and then I went back in and purposely painted this all up green so it looks like I have vines growing up on the walls. It's a really fun kind of leftover effect, if you will, little bonus. So it's something that I've started doing just for fun. So if you have these little trailing bits of glue, you can quickly press it against the brickwork and it starts looking like vines going up the brick instead. And then are you using for the backs? Yes, it is the EVA foam for the backs. So here we have two lengths. Hold on. I do have them numbered. That would help. So this is the entrance with the door. So I've got that all set up. All right. So then it's just a matter of, there are magnets, neodymium, I always say that wrong, neodymium magnets, both at the edges here. And this means that I can start having these click and lock into place, which was the whole name of the game here. That way it kind of keeps things together. The fun part is, hold on, making sure you get your right sides. I thought that looked weird. There we go. So once you get the pieces together, you have this unit that you can actually pick up. I wouldn't throw it around, but you can pick this up as a unit and then place it on top. So now we have our walls over our floor plan, and this is sizable. And then the roof. Oh, and I've got to get the steeple. And then I've made the roof, which is its own separate piece. Again, can be used, you can put it just down on the playmat itself if you wanted to. And then the roof goes on. So you saw pictures of this. And so everything just works together. You can put minis on top. Ta-dum, ta-dum, ta-dum. So this is actually the largest piece of the whole build. Truly, this is the biggest piece. It's thin. It doesn't take up that much room. So this is probably one of those pieces where someone's going to have to pack it in their bag to keep it safe. So it's one of those things where all of these homes and these different buildings are, because of this interior layout maps and the exterior half walls, it's a lot more manageable and you still get the effect you want and the feel you want. So that was something I was quite pleased to have pulled together. So these are most of the bigger pieces. I have a couple more of the bigger pieces left that I will show you that I thought everyone would get a kick out of checking those out. And as you can see, it comes apart quite easily. And I'm just slipping it into a Ziploc bag to keep it protected from getting banged around a little bit too much. And this gets tucked into a little box next to its mat. All right, Thor, thank you so much. Thank you for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. So all of this gets tucked back away. And again, it's about making it compact and easier for travel. So if you are a traveling DM, I've definitely gotten a few tricks going now from experience as well, where hopefully some of this will come in handy. All right, so that is the houses in the church. The fountain. You want to see the fountain? I'll go get the fountain. Let me get the fountain now. All right, so here we go with the fountain. Now this fellow started as a brainchild, and it actually, this is something that stemmed from Mace, because I knew we were going to have this build challenge where all the guild masters were going to have to build something. And when I walked in that room and I saw the supplies that we had, I'm like, you know what? I have to come up with a concept for the fountain for Zobeck. And I really liked some of the supplies that I saw there that involved some moss and tufts of grass. And obviously I've done the hot glue forms. That's been done a few times before on my channel. So applying all of that together, I came up with a fountain design that once it got pulled together, I really liked how it came out. And so I used those concepts and applied it to the Zobeck fountain. And it does have a fun little lighting feature too, which is basically one of these smaller, let me actually turn this off again. It's one of these smaller, this is the multicolor kind, tea lights that you just twist and turn on. And then underneath, I've made this hole in the bottom because basically this is foam, cardboard, and then there is a a Jello shot solo cup style cup is what's going on here, which is why I'm able to have this hole in here. And then I just filled it up with some water resin for the inside here, texturized it using some Mod Podge and some really clumpy layers, if that makes sense. And then the water effects here are just hot glue on silver paper clips. But then you get this little lighting feature, so you can see from the top, the light comes up all the way through. And because of that, it also goes into, hold on, I gotta show this on the side. It goes into the water effect here. And I have these fun little clear globes. And I did think about putting it into here. The issue is going to be the resin, which I didn't want to have leaking. So this was the fountain feature. So it does have a lighting feature to it. It goes through, it changes colors. You do see it from the table, regardless if it's well lit or not, except for when you have like this massive light hanging right above it. But that's not going to happen on the convention floor. It's just not how that floor is set up. So this is the main fountain for Zobeck. Again, this is one of those things where bring in some color, make it look a little different. And with Zobeck, it has this whole Gear Forge nod. Rava, who is very much sort of like a clockwork goddess, if you will. So there's a very steampunk-esque feel to the city of Zobeck. So that's why you'll see things like gears in the water and on different bits of pieces and stuff. So It's one of those things where the honestly, the Mod Podge is just more accessible, Garrett. I'm a Plaid ambassador, and they send it to me whenever I need it. Ding! The resin I've had forever. It's just florist resin, which I've worked with before. So that's why I decided to use that. So, yeah, it was a fun time, Michael, doing that whole challenge thing. So that fountain inspired this fountain is basically where I'm going with this one. So that is the fountain all pulled together. And again, the tea light just pops right out of the bottom. And it's also one of those things where this can just be its own feature even without the lighting, which I wanted to make sure that everything without lighting looks okay without lighting. Because sometimes things without lighting are like, what happened there? So this is the fountain. And let me go and tuck this away. And I'm going to pull out. This is really the last big piece. And this was something that was definitely discussed with Wolfgang, and that was to have the city gate. And we knew this was going to be a bigger piece because, you know, if it's going to be a city gate, you want to make sure it's impressive and that it's, you know, it's out there and it makes a statement. So he sent me a photo reference from some old art concept, I think from the 3.5 edition, I want to say. I'd have to go back and look. But keeping in mind, again, that Zobeck is very much a Gearforge gear place. And this is what I was going to say. This is what I was saying. This is the same paint as what the old city walls get. So you can see more of the color blend that I have going on here. This isn't just a traditional gray. I wanted to make it fun. So same thing, individual bricks. I have put moss into this. I actually made the Zobeck crust. That's the word I want. I didn't have any, this is what drove me nuts. So I didn't have any gears that were just 4 posts. I only had like the 6. So had to kind of cheat it a little bit. But this too, like I was just saying, I wanted to make sure where even if the lights weren't working, it still made sense. So we do have this whole thing here, but there is a lighting feature and it's been tucked away in one of the columns. And it is literally just these strands of fairy lights that you can get, and it's strands that you can tuck into bottles and that type of thing. So it's this quick and easy switch. You can change out the batteries really quickly with just a screwdriver, and it's, again, like watch batteries. And just by sliding a switch, it lights up. So you have the option to use this as a light up feature as well, or leave it as is, and it doesn't have to light up. But you still get the idea that you have these fantastic flames shooting out from the front gate, which is something I'm really happy about. We're able to find a Portcullis Gate Thingiverse. I don't have the file itself. I'm going to be playing with the light right now. I don't have the file on hand. That's something I'm going to have to get a copy, or not a copy of, but a link to. And so this is the front of it. And then let me just, hold on. I'm going to tuck this away, otherwise I'm going to keep playing with the lights. So then flip it to the side, and I have it so there's a little door. This is on both sides. And you can put a mini right here. You also have the top. So have nod to the fact that people can come out of the top with just the hatch doors. And this is the interior of it. So we have the clock, again nodding towards Zobeck, using all these gears and everything like that. Thank you, Michael. That was the fingers crossed hope that would be the case. We have some windows on the interior. You don't want on the exterior. And then we have our little doors here, and again some more, just some little gears here on either side, just for fun. And this, you know, both sides have the little door feature. But this is the front gate. So this was the other big, super duper big piece to the build that we really wanted to make sure was a thing. I mean, I even had fun like putting, look at, see? I took a black jewelry chain and just put a gear on the top and a gear on the bottom just to nod towards how the gate could possibly work, and it's on each side. Just really fun, cool things like that. So that is the city gate. And how are we doing on time? Okay, so we have like about 10 minutes left. So what I'll do is I'm going to start pulling out some of the smaller bits, which what I have discovered is that when you have a mix of functional terrain, feature terrain like this guy, and then you have smaller bits of scatter you can just kind of toss around. I don't want to say at will, because poor Will. But when you do that combination, you suddenly have a lot more modularity and ability to create and set your scenes, which is why I'm trying to make sure that they have a good variation of all of the above, because it really does make a difference. So let me go put this guy back, and I'll grab, oh, hello, kitten. And let me go grab some other stuff. Okay, so when you go to a city, you definitely see lots of statues. So I did, if I made a holiday village, hell no. Do not get me started about that damn elf on the shelf. All right. So I thought that, oh, thank you, Ken. The clock is actually from Jewelry Findings. Definitely when you're working with doing this whole, if you want to incorporate the gears or the steampunk sort of look, or affectation, go into the jewelry section of any craft store and you are going to find tons of really cool things. So what I wanted to do was I also wanted to create some really cool statues just to be able to, pop it down and there you go. So the first one I did is a statue of Rava, and it's got a lighting feature on it. So she is the patron goddess of Zobeck. She sort of has this spider thing going for her too, along with the whole gear work thing. So once again, I'm just going to pop this off because like I said, she's got a lighting feature to her. So this is basically just a WizKids mini painted up to look like copper to match this because this is metal, this is plastic. So I painted this to match this. I unified it more by giving them a wash with Agrax together, and that helped pull them together more. But then, this is an orange juice cap. But then, you can take apart wristwatches if you so choose. However, oops, sorry, baby. You'll find these gears for less than it would cost to buy a watch. So going back to, again, one of these little balloon globes, balloon balls, I guess. Again, I'll get the link of that directly. So that just nests right on top. And now it too has a light feature, which I can't tip it because then it's going to tip the ball. But when it's on the table, oh, there we go. You see that it has that fun little light feature to it just to sort of change things up. And this is something they can pair up and put it up with the temple. If they wanted to, they could just place it in different places so that they know, oh, hey, this is Zobeck. You're in the Collegium. There you go. Something along those lines I really wanted to make sure. And this can actually be stored right inside. And I made these little posts and then just drilled holes so that the base can rest against the statue. So that's how I pulled this one together. Agrax Earthshade is so... confession, I hate Elf on the Shelf. With a fiery passion. Let's just say if I was Bramble of Thorns, there would be no Elf on the Shelf here. I'm sure that comes as a surprise to many, but that's just one of those things I'm like, oh no, that was not something I wanted. Another thing about Zobeck is that the Gryphon is another motif that definitely floats around because they have Gryphon riders and guards and things like that. So I took those WizKids Gryphons because I love their pose, and I basically turned them into statues. And this time we have the whole patina going on here, which was actually, this is just craft paint. What did I use? I just used, I'm trying to remember the color. I want to say it was something like Paradise related. I'll have to look at the color, but this was just taking craft paint and turning it into a very watery liquid and letting it flow over the mini itself. And then I went back through and I just did a quick dry brush of gold on top to give me the look of this statue. So I have two of them actually, so that way they can pose them at the city gate or wherever they need to. And yeah, it makes a fun little statement like that. And again, these are the pieces that really help sort of make the scene very easily. You just pull it out, pop it on there, and there you go. As you saw in the video feature that I did. And then I also did this, I want to say was a Reaper mini. I don't remember which one though, because this is something I took out of its packaging a couple years ago, and of course I threw it away. But this fellow, it's one of those things where I loved all the details, but then I realized he would make a really, really cool statue. So I turned it into a statue. And again, just pop it on and you have this fun statue accent for your city. And you could, you know, put a story into it if you want to. And there you go. Get giddy for patina. I do too. Speaking of which, darlings, here's the steeple. I couldn't figure out what I did with the steeple. So I made a steeple feature for the roof, which I still have over here. But this is the steeple piece. Again, this is something you can take it off and put it back on too. It's not Sunny Delight. It is Tropicana. The Tropicana lids. They have those nice arches to them. So this is the steeple. Now, this is one of those trophies from Dollar Tree where I just cut the handles off. I've capped it with a fun little gear Again, Zobeck. This is just a Pokemon ball packaging piece that I had squirreled away. And yeah, this is going to be VOD, and I'm calling this in about 6 minutes or so, because I really do. It's been a long day. I'm going to call it around 10 o'clock. But yes, Kelly, it will be on VOD as always. So this is the church steeple or the temple steeple, whatever it is they really need it to be. And again, just to make it easier to move around, I made it so that you can pop it on top or take it off if need be. But this was fun. I actually used the city of Prague for a lot of reference points for the paint jobs that I've done for this whole thing and for color inspiration. So if you look at the city of Prague, they have these gorgeous red roof buildings, and then they have these cathedrals with these amazing steeples that have this whole thing going on, which I desperately wanted to capture. So I'm quite pleased and happy with how this looks in comparison to how the pictures from Prague are, which I can't share because they're not open source. But Google image City of Prague, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So this was the steeple top. And then what else do I have going on? And then it was, it was the stalls and stuff for the black market, which I shared pictures with you as well. And I did a stream on those too. But a lot of it boils down to, like I said before, you want to have your bigger feature pieces, your basic pieces like your cobblestone here, and then your bits of scatter that just sort of like add a little bit more to it. I have things like carts. We have the animals that you can kind of pop around as you need. And I believe they're using pawns for this year for miniatures instead of actual miniatures. It was more like the time constraint. There was no way I was going to be able to do the terrain and the miniatures at the same time. But there's going to be a lot of fun stuff for anyone who is going to PAX Unplugged, because, you know, that sucker starts up on Thursday. Oh my God. People, how did this happen? So it's one of those things where if you are going to PAX Unplugged, do stop by booth 4039. Kobold Press has some fun things planned for anyone who wants to come and sit and play. You'll get to interact with this terrain. Check out the black market, which you got to see in the opening video. And it's just one of those things where this is why I've been so quiet. This has been keeping me super busy. However, I am thrilled to bits with how everything came out. And I'm hoping it does what Kobold Press needs for it to do for them at the booth. And it's one of those things where now I have lots of fun goodies to share with you all. So I think what I'm going to do, because we had some latecomers join us, is I am going to sign off for myself here. But I'm going to flip it back to that intro video again one more time so that those of you who came in after the fact, you can see those great layouts and the setup that I have going. That was just 3 setups. There's all these other different options they could pull together just from mixing and matching everything, which is honestly, in my book, modularity is your best friend when it comes to working with terrain, especially when you're traveling. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me this evening. Stay tuned for one more round of the reveal video. And I will talk to you all later. If you're going to PAX, I will see you there. Please make sure to stop and say hello. Please give me your name, because people come up to me and say, "Hi, how are you?" And they'll talk to me for like 5 minutes and they'll walk away. I'm like, I don't know who that was. I'm not even kidding. Please make sure to introduce yourself. I do have some Crafting Muse D6 left. While supplies last, I will be giving them out at PAX, but chances are good they'll be gone by the time PAX is done. So forewarning. Thank you again, everyone. It was wonderful to see you in the chat. I am so glad we were able to do this. Have a lovely evening, and here we go into the video one last time. Bye-bye.